Hi, my name is Pete and I travel from Blakely Island, Washington. This trip report on Asiana Airlines from Seattle to Seoul to Bangkok and back has an unusual backstory. My car was stolen from the Hilton Garden Inn in Seattle while I was flying. There are three villains: the punks who stole the car, the Hilton Garden Inn, which allowed them to steal the car, and American Express Travel Services, which screwed up everything that they possibly could. The hero is Asiana Airlines, which treated me with generosity and grace. My 2001 Honda Accord had been repainted the month before and it looked really sharp. I'd been using the Park and Fly service at the Hilton Garden Inn in Renton for more than a decade. If you stayed there at the beginning or end of your trip, the license plate of your car was entered in their book and you could park for free or for a nominal fee during your trip. I parked as close to the front door as I could and I left my Costco card and some extra credit cards in a backpack in the trunk. I took the free hotel shuttle to SeaTac. The $150 premium economy upgrade to Seoul was very tempting. I'm 6'4", and it turned out that the 32-inch pitch was really not enough for me. On the other hand, the entire round-trip ticket only cost $680, so $150 to upgrade one leg of a four-leg flight was a lot of money. The boarding gate was particularly interesting because there was a Korean Airlines flight to Seoul leaving at essentially the same time. And the Korean flight people made loud announcements about every 5 minutes, whereas I don't recall Asiana making any announcements, including the actual boarding announcement. This turned out to be symbolic of Asiana overall. It's a very understated airline. The boarding itself was very smooth. We were organized before we boarded, and we boarded from the rear. The interior can be described as either bland or understated, depending on your perspective. I found it very pleasant. The 32-inch pitch was a little short for me. And the in-flight entertainment, while modern and obviously a touchscreen, was more limited than I expected. I had seen many of the movies, and there was a lot of flying ahead of me. I particularly liked the in-flight map showing our route in great detail. It's wonderful to be on new equipment such as this A350 with more or less state-of-the-art in-flight maps. I saw very little during the flight. The windows were closed, it was dark, and I could never locate an exterior camera on this A350. I didn't particularly care for the dinner. I missed the salad, to be frank. We were on time to Seoul, and on arrival I discovered that my Priority Pass membership got me access to the Asiana Business Lounge. I think you have to be flying Asiana to get in on Priority Pass, but it's a wonderful lounge. On the way back I spent 9 hours in the same lounge. I should add that I have 2 Priority Pass memberships, or I used to, and I had both cards with me, and it's a good thing because one of them didn't work, and I'm not sure why, but the other one did. And if you have both cards, take them both with you. Boarding the A380 for a 5-hour flight from Seoul to Bangkok was a little confusing. There are 2 decks and there were multiple entrances, and I think, frankly, that I went into the wrong one. But it didn't matter. I just had to walk a little further down the long economy section of the A380. I found it to be sort of like a bus, but frankly the 33-inch pitch was more comfortable than the A350's 32-inch pitch, and I'll take the pitch anytime. Also, the A380 had an exterior camera that worked, and I enjoyed using it. It's kind of odd to watch a landing using an exterior camera on an A380, but it beats not being able to see anything at all. I would have liked to be able to look out on Bangkok, but at least I got to see the runway. It was midnight, and I took a cab to the Solitaire Hotel, which I found on Agoda. I liked it a lot. On the cab ride from the airport, I learned that my credit cards had been stolen, and I canceled them. A day later, after some sleep, it occurred to me that my car had been stolen. So I called the Hilton Garden Inn, and they confirmed that the car was no longer in their parking lot. I called the Renton Police Department to report the car stolen, and they said they would not treat it as stolen until I came in person to swear to it. So I had to return home as soon as possible. I checked out of my hotel at 1 p.m. and arrived at the Bangkok airport about 12 hours before my flight departed. I had purchased this Asiana ticket from American Express Travel Services in order to get the mileage bonus. They told me that to move up the date of my return, I would have to pay a $425 change fee to Asiana Airlines. Because I arrived at the airport 12 hours before flight time, I got in line an hour before the check-in counter was to open. This A380 would hold 500 people, so I was very happy to be third in line. I was charmed when the Asiana staff bowed before opening check-in. When I got to the front of the line, I learned that American Express had erased my entire return itinerary. Fortunately, I had a printed copy of my original return flights. I then spent an hour on my cell phone talking to American Express. I was on hold for 15 and 20 minutes at a time. I still remember Brittany greeting me by saying, "I hear you're in the Bangkok airport freaking out." I'm a retired trial lawyer. I don't freak out. But to the extent I was having trouble, it was entirely the fault of American Express. Asiana could not have been more gracious or generous. They put me on the next flights back to Seattle. They did not charge me a change fee, and they assigned me to the best legroom seat on the A380. They also told me not to pay the change fee to American Express, period. I had a scare as I boarded the A380. I was pulled from the line and my passport was taken. I was told that Asiana had been contacted by American Express in New York. But after 15 minutes, they gave me my passport back and told me to go ahead and board, thankfully. I view the boarding gate drama as entirely the fault of American Express, and I think Asiana just decided to ignore them. The A380 flight left Bangkok at 1:30 in the morning and there was no meal service. 90 minutes outside of Seoul, we were served breakfast. I had trouble with the eggs on all the breakfasts, but I appreciated the effort. The service on all the Asiana flights was wonderful. Back in Seoul, I had 9 hours until my flight to Seattle. I was able to use the wonderful business class lounge again. The food was very good, there was lots to read, there were TVs everywhere, and best of all, I got to take a shower, which at this point, I really needed. If Asiana had offered the same $150 upgrade to premium economy for the return flight to Seattle, I would have taken it. I was leaving Thailand 3 days earlier. That saved me some money, and that's a long flight in a 32-inch pitch seat. There were no issues boarding the flight in Seoul, and the flight was quite full. For dinner, I ordered off the Korean menu and had what amounted to a lettuce beef wrap. It was excellent, and it was the best meal of all 4 flights. My overall rating for Asiana is an A. It's a generous and gracious airline. I give their food a C-. I just didn't like their eggs for breakfast. Their IFE was good and new, but it was more limited than I expected. I thought the service was wonderful, and I liked the A350, although I could have used some more pitch. In Seattle, I took an Uber to the Renton Police Department, signed an affidavit that my car had been stolen, and then took an Uber to a hotel and slept. The next day I went back to my home on Blakely Island. 2 days later, and less than 48 hours before I was due to fly to Hawaii, I got a call from the Renton Police that my car was in an impound lot near the airport. I was able to get to the car, to retrieve it, to get it detailed, to get new license plates, and to get it properly stowed before I went to Hawaii. American Express never apologized for deleting my travel records, but I'll never do business with them again. The Hilton Garden Inn manager called me because she was upset that she hadn't learned my car had been stolen. She didn't apologize, she was just upset that no one had told her about it. I won't stay there again either. Asiana will get my business in the future. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and you might consider subscribing. Just click on my face to subscribe.